These are stories that need to be told
Yeah.
because it's this illusion that everything is okay, we're all getting along, and the playing field is leveled out.
Yeah.
And
Not
then
a
when
chance,
these kids
not
go
a
out
chance,
there
yeah.
and it's not that way,
Yeah.
and they're wondering, well, what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, somebody didn't tell you the truth.
Right, right.
You know, so
right.
having to hear the stories like yours, and,
Yeah.
you know, you have to stay with it. And if this is your dream and this is something you really want to do, you got to
Yeah.
stick with it till
Yeah.
you get a breakthrough. Somebody will
Yeah.
give you a chance. Or, as I meet a lot, they become independent. They do their own.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the wave of now. You know, I couldn't do it on my own, and I knew that back in the day, you know, because just trying to reach out to so many news. But now there's the internet. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
You know, you can reach out. You
That's
can,
a new frontier.
Yeah. You can do many things out there. I don't know half of them.
Yeah.
but you know you can do a lot.
Well, we're going to drag you out of retirement. She's been in retirement for a little bit.
I have.
But we're going to drag her out of retirement. That's what we're going to do with her.
My strip ended in 2004 is when it ended. So that's...
They had you 2005.
They
added it. They gave you an extra year.
I think it was 2004 because I had a party.
but we're going to show one of her comic strips. Here we go. Now hers. What's unique about Barbara's? They are talking heads, and the fact that you took the bubble out. You didn't use the bubble.
Use the bubble. Yeah, I did not. Yeah.
And
I played around.
Now you told me your concept for why you use just the heads. I thought was very interesting.
I mean, when I started out, like when I was saying for the magazine Elan way back when, I just had heads. I didn't have arms and all that. It was just faces, and it was women. And it was like, how about we talk to women in their faces? You know, instead of looking, you know, sizing them up according to their, you know, their bodies. You know, you can't see a car commercial without seeing cleavage. You know, you can't see, you know, selling beer. You got to see, you know, legs. You know, women walking down with, you know, just big butts, whatever, you know, whatever it's supposed to be tantalizing, you know.
Sexy.
Sexy, you know, it's like, how about what's in here? How about what we have to say? How about if if I just have my characters just talk directly to the reader and later talk to each other, you know, and then I did start adding hands and just for expression, you know, just to further the expression. But that was I just so tired of women being summed up by their parts, you know. So I had these talking heads, and you know, I heard from, you know, that was one of the rejection letters. You can't do that, you know. You can't just have talking heads. That's not going to work. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but see, that was the uniqueness of it because I feel it'll work today. That's why we're gonna get you out of retirement. It'll work today, and what they have to say. It's not about their bodies or their breasts or their. You know, it's about what's in their head, and they're talking,
What they have to
and you
say.
had a range of characters.
I did.
You had conscious Lakeisha, right?
Socially conscious, yes.
And you had man obsessed, was it Nicole?
Yes.
And then you had some others. Didn't name all of them, but you had about 12 different women, and they all talked about different issues.
Yeah.
That women, from relationships to friendships to
Right,
love.
Right. All of that. I mean, it's. I mean, and people say, well, which one were you? You know, I get that question. You know, it's like I'm a little bit of all of them, really, as are my friends. You know, you have a lot. You know, I have friends. I have a lot of really good friends. A lot of good friends that I've known. You know, from way back, from different stages in life. You know, and just being an observer and an eavesdropper. You know, you hear stuff and you just kind of record what's in your head, you know, what you hear, and then you get it down on paper, you know, because the way I worked was to write it, you know. I would write something would strike me funny, I'd write it down, and I'm like, who would best, illustrate this point, you know? Is it Nicole, who was really self-absorbed and nothing past the mirror made much sense to her, you know? That's all she was about. Or would it be Lakeisha, who was, she's going to talk about social issues, you know, and she's going to.
I believe you had a Dolores.
No, I had an Aunt Dolores. No, I didn't have a Dolores.
No, I thought I couldn't remember. It named 4 names, but the ones that stuck out was Lakeisha
I had
and Nicole.
and Judy and Lakeisha and Monica and Alicia, I said that. I can't remember all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was like
yeah.
9 of them. I had 9 characters.
Yeah. Okay. So, but it's I found it interesting the bottom paragraph that they wrote that the interesting thing about and the name of her strip was Where I'm Coming From.
Right. Right.
And these women talking and talking about these different issues that we go through, and they said it gave a peek into. She wrote about what African American women talked about and how they thought, and yours ran from
For
86
yeah. I had
till
13 years.
13 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Spike Lee was not the first one to reveal what
No.
black folk do, because they're very interested in black life and do we talk.
And honestly, that's probably what helped me, because, that it seems like there's like a wave of when they're interested in what's going on in the black community. Like in the 60s when my dad and Ted Shearer and Maury Turner came around. It was right at the civil rights was in everybody's face, and we had to. I think a lot of the newspapers felt compelled to try to look at.
Well, they had to at that time, because
Absolutely, yeah.
that's what caused the black newspapers to start going down.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, we had over 500 newspapers
That's right.
in the black, and very, very powerful, very
Absolutely,
prominent.
yeah,
I know the
absolutely.
Chicago Defender was one of the most prominent black newspapers. California Press, led by Shaletta Bass Spears.
Well, let's
She
not
was
forget Amsterdam News.
Yes,
Yeah,
Amsterdam News.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
And they had a lot of power.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
know, so if you were a writer or a photographer for any of those magazines,
Right.
People knew who you were.
That's right. That's
and they
right.
had women
working at these
who
papers.
worked at these papers.
Yeah, Jackie Ohms.
Yeah, Jackie Ohms. She did
Yeah.
her. She was a journalist, but she also did
Yep.
the comic strip.
Absolutely.
So after civil rights,
So they felt like they had the need. But once again, it was around that time in the late 80s, when you had, John Singleton and Spike and all these other black filmmakers looking at regular black life, they're like, well, maybe we could use a comic strip, a black woman's comic. It kind of made sense on some level.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I felt, I think I was helped by that. I think that just, we're not always that popular.